So there's a lot of buzz these days about mindfulness, and I Googled it and got several pages of this drawing. And it's really got me wondering, what is mindfulness truly all about? So to answer this question, we called our associate Beth Wallace. Now, Beth graduated Mindful Awareness Research Center, which is part of the Seminole Neuroscience Institute, UCLA. She has her certificate in mindful facilitation, and she's an associate publisher of the Mindful magazine. In short, we have a true expert with us today. Beth, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So, Beth, a lot of talk about mindfulness, and it's ranging from a mindset to meditation to multi-day retreats. Can you help us cut through all this noise and give us a bit of a definition around what mindfulness is and a bit of a picture
Sure.
to what that is?
Well, there's many definitions for mindfulness. The one that I like is that mindfulness is the quality of being in the present moment with openness and curiosity and a willingness to be with what is. And then I like to say with kindness, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Essentially, it is a way of relating to moment experiences, and it's also reinforced or practiced through a formal practice of meditation. So, mindfulness is also a form of meditation, and it's a way of showing up in your life at home and at work or wherever.
Excellent. Now, is there a scientific basis for this, or is this all anecdotal?
Well, I like to say that mindfulness is a felt experience. I mean, everybody's journey when they start to practice this discipline or explore this way of being is going to be different. No different than if you and I joined a gym. You would have a different experience than I would. But increasingly, particularly in the last 15 years, there's been a lot of scientific research growing and growing around studying the positive and occasionally negative or neutral effects of a mindfulness practice, both on our bodies and our brains, how our brains function, and how we relate to stress and our quality of life. We're nowhere near in the scientific research that we are with, say, cardiovascular disease and the positive benefits of exercise on that, or some of these other things that are quite well known and understood. But it's certainly a growing area, and there's been enough positive results that show, for example, that as little as 10 or 15 minutes of mindfulness meditation practice a day over, say, 6 to 8 weeks can actually, in some cases, lower levels of inflammation, release of cortisol, change our view on how we're responding to stress, lowering blood pressure. There's a really great study that was done early on around psoriasis, where it was found that combined with UV light, the group that was introduced to mindfulness meditation actually had an enhanced healing effect than the group that was given the strict, straight up UV treatment. And that's just one very cursory example. So I think the increasing amount of scientific attention is one of the reasons why you're seeing Time magazine commit a cover, why you're seeing widely read magazines like Mindful Magazine and others dedicate themselves to studying this. So yes, it is certainly being validated more and more.
Nice. So we've got something that's been around for literally thousands of years, and the Western science is now really kind of taking that up and figuring out why it's working. You mentioned meditation, and kind of thinking of this in a corporate setting. Burning incense and doing meditation in the office, probably not going to go over well with the boss. Can this realistically be practiced in a corporate
Well,
setting?
you're raising a great point, and that's a real cliche that you have to take on some of these more esoteric practices. I like to tell people, there's no tie-dye, garments required, there's no incense required. This is a very practical form of meditation that actually can be done in a chair, that really reinforces our ability to just show up in the moment, in our bodies, noticing our breath, applying a little bit of exertion in not getting carried away with discursive thoughts, thinking about the future, ruminating about the past, which is our standard set point as humans, right? We are wired to be scanning for threats and to be analyzing how things are working in our environment. It's just how we've been wired. The challenge is that we're a little
Mhm.
overtuned on scanning and assessing. And so we bring a form of judgment and um, almost over diligence to times when we just need to be present in order to appreciate what's happening or to make better decisions. But no, back to your
Right,
point
because
about
we're
the workplace, though. Um, and I think we'll talk about this in a bit, but there are things that we can do before we show up at work that can reinforce our ability to be present and mindful. And then there are I like to call them on the spot practices that you can bring into your workplace that can really help bring a little more ease, whether you're doing them as an individual or whether it's something that a team or a department is interested in exploring from time to time.
interesting. So kind of like hitting the gym in the morning before you come to work, so that you're fresh and awake and like as you say, be fully
Yeah,
present.
well, you are working, some people refer to it as brain fitness. And what you're doing is you are
Hmm.
conditioning your body and your mind to learn how to relate to your thoughts and to the external environment with a little less reactivity and a little more skill.
Right. So almost tempering that human nature reaction that we tend to have for looking at those visible threats that we used to encounter in our days before we moved into modern
Yeah.
society. Um, as you know, here at TidalShift, we focus on change management, on project management, on leadership. How can mindfulness really help our clients when they're leading projects, when they're dealing with the day-to-day stress of working through change and leading teams
That's a
down that
great
path?
question. I think there's two parts to that. The first is that, in my experience, having a mindfulness practice may help you link your intention for a project a little more closely aligned with the action, the skillful, appropriate action that you need to apply in order to execute it. So, in other words, it may enhance creative problem solving. It may enhance those critical kind of crossroad decisions that we have to make sometimes on a project. It may enhance our ability to make better decisions. And then conversely, it may also just help how we show up in the workplace. So there's always going to be difficult
Hmm.
situations, difficult people, um, things that are going on in our home life that make it tough for us to bring our best self, right? And so these practices really, just like you used your gym analogy, they do in many cases help us bring a little bit more awareness and ease to those difficult challenges that we're working on at work, which is just part of life now.
Absolutely. Yeah, we really can't separate our home life and our work life. And those stresses that we have at home have been shown to layer on top the stresses at work. And it really kind of helps explain how sometimes our coworkers show up in a really good mood and a really good, receptive frame, and other times they're just
And
not there.
it goes the other
Um,
way too, right? So people have difficult
mhm,
situations at
absolutely.
work and that impacts in their home as well.
Absolutely. So, Beth, I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. I can see that practicing mindfulness can really be a differentiating factor for folks at all levels. Um, Even looking at my own personal situation with all the change that we have going on around here and within our environment, within the office, and some things that are layering on at home, I think I can really benefit from this as well. So, I really look forward to exploring this more in the coming weeks and months with you. And for those of you watching this video, if you're interested in finding out more about our mindfulness programs that we offer here at TidalShift, please feel free to contact us. Look forward to chatting with you
Thank
soon.
you.